Oh, there's lots of room. Pile on in.
Okay, hi, welcome everybody. Thank you for coming out tonight. I'm Camille Labchuk. I'm the Ontario representative on the Green Party's Federal Council, and I'll be hosting the evening. Warm welcome to all of you. We're really happy to see so many of you here on this night. So the way tonight is going to work, we have three wonderful guests here who you'll get to hear from. We're going to hear from each of them for a few minutes at the outset. I'll introduce them in a moment, and then you'll have a chance to ask questions, because tonight is really about you. It's about your concerns as residents of Toronto-Danforth or elsewhere in the city, and we want to give you a chance to ask questions of them. So, before we get underway, bathrooms are downstairs if anyone needs them. If you're still looking for a seat, I think there's a couple near the front here. Yeah, raise your hand if there's an empty seat next to you. Super. Good, good, good. Okay. All right, so our guests this evening, we've got three of them. Starting in the middle there, the lovely woman in the green is our candidate here in Toronto-Danforth. Adriana is a longtime resident of Toronto-Danforth. She was the Green Party's candidate in the last election, not too long ago, in May 2011. She's a noted community activist. She's spoken out against the power plant, and she was very involved in that fight down by the waterfront. She's opposed big box stores in the community, and she's an air quality activist, as well as a number of other things that would take much too long to list. She is a mother of 5, and she is Elizabeth May's climate change critic in the Green Party's shadow cabinet. And George Laraque, on the end, is the Green Party's deputy leader. After spending 13 years in the NHL, George retired and since then has been busier than ever. He became an animal rights activist after watching the film Earthlings, which made him aware of the realities of how society treats animals. He's involved with a number of business initiatives. Last fall, fall 2010, he was on the CBC reality television program, Battle of the Blades, where he learned how to figure skate. He has been actively involved.
died.
Yeah, he nearly died. He's got the scar to prove it. He's been actively involved in raising money for the relief effort in the aftermath of the Haiti earthquake in his native country. And he's involved with countless other initiatives designed to make our world and our country a better place. And he's also just come out with his first book, an autobiography. And to my left here, we're going to scarcely need an introduction, but Elizabeth May is one of Canada's most noted activists. After time spent in the Mulroney government as a policy advisor, she went on to run the Sierra Club of Canada for 17 years before she became the leader of the Green Party of Canada in 2006. And as we all know, she was elected to the House of Commons, the first time a Green Party member of Parliament has been elected in Canada ever. Last year in May. So I'd like to turn it over to Adriana first to say a few words, and move on to George and then Elizabeth.
It's a real honor to run for the Green Party here in Toronto-Danforth, and I've been walking around, and the two things that I tell people, there are two reasons to vote Green in this election. One is that the Green Party is the only party that really thinks of an economy that works in the long term. Every other party thinks in electoral cycles, and there has always been problems with that in terms of protecting our air, protecting our water, protecting our soils, protecting our food, making sure that we have energy systems that sustain us. But what brought me to the Green Party was climate change, because while those other things are dangerous and nasty, when it comes to climate change, the threats that we're unleashing on our children are just overwhelming. And our kids really need voices in Parliament standing up for them, advocating for their future. We need credible voices saying, demanding that we obey the science, respect the science, and fulfill our obligations to future generations. That's necessary. None of the other parties are doing it anywhere to the level necessary, so we need those voices in Parliament. The other reason is that this is just a by-election. There is only one seat at play. So the balance of Parliament will not shift. So the question becomes, what can we do with that one seat? What is the voice that we can give in Parliament that will most benefit Canada and Toronto-Danforth? Any other party will elect somebody who will be thrown in the backbenches, told to shut up, vote strictly on party lines, and nothing will change. If I am elected as Elizabeth May's climate change critic, I will be given an opportunity and I will be encouraged to speak out as loud and clear and strong as I possibly can, so I will be the best representative for this community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Adriana. And now a few words from George. Just briefly, if any of you are tweeting tonight and you'd like to make sure you have the appropriate hashtag, you can use TORDAN, T-O-R-D-A-N. Thanks.
Hi everyone, it's so nice to see so many people coming today to support Adriana. For me, what attracted me to the Green Party is not just the fact that Elizabeth May came to Montreal to talk to me, to work with her, because it's such an honor to work with Elizabeth May, but the policies of the Green Party, the animals policy, which since I became vegan, I became really active defending animals, and we want to put laws to force the society, the world to be nicer to animals, and this is something that's so important that a lot of people don't care about. And global warming issues, you know, all here, we all know what we're doing to our environment, and there's so many things that we're working towards to try to make things better for our future, for our kids. And seeing all those people that are here that care about that, and preventative health care. You know, we want our kids to be healthier, and we want to prevent people to be sick. So we want people to be active, you know, kids to do sports. And we know what it does when kids are into sports. It gets them away from gangs, and you know, it gets them away from trouble. So all those things to me are so attracting, and all of us together, we can make a change. And all of you guys in this room, you're seed. And all together, when you spread the word to other people, it makes it bigger and makes it bigger. It's a start. Now we have our first MP, and the next election is going to be much better. And it all started with people that are coming in today, listening to a message, spreading the message, living green, and all together we can make a huge difference. So thank you for coming, and it's a start. And with Elizabeth there, you know, even though we have one voice in the House Common, she's like the voice of 100 people. So much energy. We're so lucky to have her. Thank you.
Thank you, George. And now let's give it up for Elizabeth May.
It's great to be here, and I'm so thrilled to I don't get to see George very often because he's busy and I'm busy, so here we are. And the reason that we're here is the reason that you're here, is to do the very best we can to ensure that in this by-election in Toronto-Danforth, we actually do something that makes a difference. And Adriana put it really well. Anybody else who gets elected, I had the theoretical notion, I spent a lot of time in and around Parliament Hill without being a member of Parliament. And my sense was, and when Sharon Laraque, who was my campaign manager in London North Centre, and is now Adriana's campaign manager, we had an experience of saying to people in that by-election, no other vote's going to make a difference. As Adriana was saying, the House of Commons isn't going to change. A by-election doesn't elect the government is in place. Any by-election gives you a really different opportunity to make a really substantial statement, to do something that makes a difference. And I used to say that in London North Centre, that no other MP was going to be able to make a difference. Now that I'm in the House of Commons, I can tell you, it's worse than I thought, actually. Every single day when there's going to be a vote, I don't know how many of you have ever gone to Ottawa to see the House of Commons and to see how things work, but there are these lovely young people. You've seen them at least once when Brigitte de Pape held up the Stop Harper sign. Well, they're in those lovely black uniforms and they're very efficient and, they don't usually do demonstrations. But what they do is every single day on every single vote, they hand out the sheet that's given to them by the party whips. So they're very careful. They don't want to put anything on the wrong desk, goodness knows, because the Conservatives get the sheet that says, today we're voting no, 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 yes, no. This is very efficient. It means no one's required to think. As a matter of fact, it's easier if you don't, because then you don't have to, well, you certainly don't read the bills, because you're going to be voting no, 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 yes, no. The NDP benches get the sheets handed out by the NDP whip that tells the NDP how they're going to vote. Yes, 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 no, yes. And then the Liberals get handed out their sheets. And even the poor benighted remaining 4 Bloc Quebecois members get the sheet of paper in case the word didn't get around. We're voting no, 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 we no. And it blows my mind that every single day on every single vote, it's a whipped vote. I can tell you in June, when I stood up to be the only member of Parliament to vote against bombing Libya, NDP members of Parliament came up to me afterwards in the opposition lobby, say, bravo, Madame Nate, bravo. There were tears in their eyes because there were peace activists who were told to vote for bombing Libya. Right? This is not about picking who should be prime minister. I think we can all agree that any one of the other 307 MPs in the House of Commons would make a better choice. With the possible exception of Dick Taves, I'd say any other one would be, actually Dick Taves would be better because he's much more transparent in his venality, and it would be, whereas Stephen Harper has perfected the look of father knows best, the patient, and wise, and hold his facial expression perfectly, wise patriarch of doom. So, anyway, I'm torn between politics and stand-up comedy. It's generally a toss-up. So I'm in there every single day watching this go on. And I don't want to be unkind about it. I have made friends in every single one of the other caucuses. And I mean every. The individual members of Parliament are far better than any of you could imagine, because as individuals, they are complex, there's things they care about, there's times that the bravest thing, some brave Conservative MPs actually yesterday on a private member's bill of Kirsty Duncan's for CCSVI for multiple sclerosis patients, actually stood up and voted with against what Health Canada wanted, against what the government wanted, and voted that we should, make this more available, do more with the test. But even on a bill like that, you knew they're going to get in trouble. I talked to one Conservative MP who felt he couldn't vote against what the government wanted, what Harper wanted him to do. He was a Conservative. He felt the most he could do, because he actually wanted to vote for the CCSVI bill, but he felt that the one thing he could do would be to be in the room but not vote. Just sit there so that as the vote goes by, he didn't stand. That's, in the context of how much party discipline there is, that was brave. And of course, he told me later he got in trouble the next day. That's how it goes. So when you think about where you're going to cast your vote, what's going to make a difference? Okay, at this point, we've still got the kind of numbers where I can say with confidence that you have the potential to double the Green Party caucus. Doubling a caucus. No other party is in that zone in this by-election. Not at all. The only downside of electing Adriana Mugnatto-Hamu to serve with me in the House of Commons is that it does nothing to affect the gender parity within my caucus. It allows us to remain 100% female, but twice as many MPs. Guess what I could do with twice as many MPs? If Adriana had been in the House of Commons with me when we put forward 43 separate amendments at report stage on the Omnibus Crime Bill. We had more amendments from the Green Party on the Omnibus Crime Bill than all the other parties combined. That's because it's strange, but as an individual MP, I have more rights at report stage to put forward amendments than the other parties. It's unusual, but we put forward those amendments, but I needed to get someone in another party to second my amendments. This is an awkward position, because when I then said, okay, so we've got to keep Harper in the room and keep them voting till 2 in the morning, the enthusiasm of the seconders began to wane. And there were other things going on that evening, and there was a lot of pressure on me. Gordon O'Connor, by the way, the Conservative whip, came over the day before and said, Elizabeth, how many of your amendments are you going to make us actually have a full recorded vote? And I said, gee, I don't know, Gordon, because I don't know which is the best one, which one has the best chance to pass. I try to say things like that to him with an expression on my face that suggests a hopeful naivete that could begin to believe that such a thing could ever happen, because we knew everything. He looked at me and said, Elizabeth, every single one of your amendments is going to fail. And I looked at him and said, are you sure? Like, maybe one, because they're really good amendments, Gordon, they're really good. And he said, I can tell you right now, I can promise you, every single one of your amendments is going to fail. I said, gee, I hate to think that. I'd really like to see them all voted on. And he said, Elizabeth, have a heart. My caucus has a lot of people with weak bladders. I mean, okay, this is my dilemma. Are we going to become a country that has mandatory minimum sentences, builds a lot of unnecessary jails, throws people in jail for 6 pot plants, or am I going to force conservative members of parliament to have strained bladders? It's the kind of thing that, fortunately, on the horns of such a dilemma, what could I do? Unfortunately for me, my seconders wouldn't let me go till 2 in the morning, forcing them all to vote forever, which was, kind of as a last stand against draconian legislation that every civil liberties organization, every criminology expert, every group that possibly could bring to bear their views on whether this would work or whether it would be bad for society, the John Howard Society, Elizabeth Fry Society, Civil Liberties Association, the Canadian Bar Association, every expert group that gave testimony said, don't let this bill pass. And if Adriana had been there with me, we could have put up a much better last stand against draconian, regressive, bad legislation. So please, I'm going to turn it over to you for questions. I just want you to be sure that when you leave this hall tonight, you reach out to as many friends and neighbors as you can. And when they say they don't want to waste their vote, which is what I'm hearing our canvassers are getting at the door, for heaven's sake, say, oh good, that means you're voting green because you've decided not to waste your vote. I'm so pleased to hear it. Because the only vote in this election that's going to make a difference is a vote for the Green Party of Canada and a vote for Adriana Mugnatto-Hamu. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elizabeth and George and Adriana. That was very compelling. Okay, so now we're going to turn the mic over to you and get a couple questions from the audience and hear what our guests have to say about them. So I think the way we'll do this is if you could put up your hand if you have a question, I'll recognize you. I think rather than sending the mic out, if you could just try to speak up, I can repeat the question if the rest of the audience
Can we
doesn't hear.
share the mic at this table?
Yeah, that's another thing we'll do is we'll have the mic along the table so people don't have to stand up.
I know it only messes up the video cameras, but I think it'll be easier for us to see.
Yeah, okay, so over here.
Elizabeth May, as it happens, I don't live in this riding, but I got the email about the event this evening. Nonetheless, I know folks who live in this riding, but that all established, before you said it in your your remarks, I didn't know, certain NDP MPs came up to you after you were the, as it turned out, lone MP to vote against Swami Libby, and they thanked you for doing it. I don't know if you were surprised by that, and I don't know if what I'm about to ask you've already answered on a website, etc. Did you, if not that